Q has popped. Okay, congratulations, man. I will be sending you that shirt giveaway after this stream. And yeah, go ahead and check out on the website what shirt specifically you're interested in seeing. But here we go, guys. What the heck just happened? I'm doing things and stuff. All right, here we go. We're in the game, and it's We Back versus Please Sponsor Us, game number 1. And you called it Supo. We do have that Mage Moonkin Holy Paladin composition for We Back going up against Please Sponsor Us is Shadow Priest Frost Mage Holy Paladin. And, you know, both of these teams, though, this is their main composition. This is their bread and butter, and I'm expecting some very high-level play from both these teams.
Yeah, I know Asber was playing pretty much perfectly in the previous series. His clones were really on point. He's just landing them offensively and rotating them over. So let's see if Asber can really be the MVP here, or will Merkmines trump him? I really feel like those two players are going to be the key points for victory on either side. So let's see, the gates have opened. Asber Majidin charging across, looking to build up some damage initially here. Icicle's getting stacked up. Merkmine's building Shadow Orbs so they can get their assaults maximum potential. Samayam already getting bursted down, though, down to half HP, caught into that Solar Beam. A lot of damage following it up. He needs to block. Down to 10% and almost going down in the opening stages. And Asber, man, he is the man with a plan in terms of the first 10 seconds of the game.
Yeah, seriously, that is some crazy damage coming out on him. Rubcubs now with that wings active should be able to keep his team alive for a little while. I'm actually caught into the silent. Whoa! As I'm paying entirely too much attention to Samayam at the moment. Asber dipping super low, forcing the bubble out of Faloria to keep him alive. The wings coming out as well. Faloria now, though, caught into this full fear. Do they have another setup like that ready for Asber? No, he's going to go ahead and run over here out of line of sight to meet up with his healer and get some extra heals, top him off real quick. Now they're swapping over onto Majidin. Does he have anything in particular to say about that at the moment? Does not really look like it. Both teams now, they've traded blows, and they're looking like, as soon as I say that, Samayam jumping in with that deep freeze, still going on to Asber super hard. Faloria actually getting caught in that Horrify from the Dispel there for just a second. Asber does manage to land a Cyclone onto Samayam, though, and now with Rubcubs into that silence as well as Merkmines into the silence. Do they have the follow-up? Yes. Rubcubs now into a full Cyclone, Faloria into a full Polymorph. These teams are not wanting to let up at all whatsoever, despite not having their offensive cooldowns available. They're both just still going hard at it, trading blows against each other constantly.
Yeah, Asber trying to exploit his mobility here and get across the map, but now he's caught in center field. His entire team crowd controlled. Is he going to get bursted down? Who is going to be able to save Asber in time? So much damage following up. Merkmine's looking to finish him off. His Save with the Light will proc. Faloria barely getting that heal up in time. Is it going to be enough to keep him alive? 20% HP remaining, trying to get back to the pillar. A full Polymorph landed onto Faloria. Asber still alone, trying to actually turn it around with a full clone onto Samayam, a full sheep onto Rubcub. Rubcub's just going to bubble out, try and keep his team's momentum onto Asber here, but Asber survives. Faloria's Avenging Wrath will top his team off, and they are going to recover. Now with Barkskin available, We Back are looking pretty good.
Yeah, they seem to have recovered from that pretty well. Celestial Alignment is coming up in a minute, so I would expect them to try and hang on until that point. Faloria caught into this full Cyclone, or excuse me, full Polymorph, immediately pulling out the Barkskin from Asber. He's going to go Bear Form and hide out over here behind line of sight once again, topping himself back off. The double fear landing onto Faloria and Majidin. Do they have any follow-up CC onto Faloria? Yeah, the half Polymorph lands onto him, but can they connect onto Asber while this is going on? Doesn't really look like it. Asber just hiding off to himself over behind, actually moving in over here now, trying to get some sort of CC onto Merkmines and Rubcubs. Does land the Solar Beam there temporarily, but no route to follow it up, so they're just going to go ahead and run away and keep going. The Cyclone does land onto Samayam, which is going to split up some of this pressure for just a second, and that Celestial Alignment now 13 seconds from becoming active again. We Back is getting themselves ready for another push.
Yeah, Asber still the target. No Barkskin for 10 seconds. There's the deep freeze from Samayam. He gets the sheep. It's a 3v1 on Asber. He's on the run. He trinkets out. He displaces across the map, trying to get out of line of sight of the opposing casters. He basically needs to just keep himself alive with his self-healing, but now he eats a Fist of Justice. Rubcub clotheslines him. Do they have enough damage to finish him off? With no crowd control on Faloria, he's dealing with the pressure very well here, keeping Asber completely topped off. Now Celestial Alignment is available. Asber, I'm sure, is waiting and ready to press that button as soon as possible. He's looking for a Cyclone. He He connects the clone. Is he going to pop the alignment? It looks like he's holding on to it for now. They're trying to force the dispersion without it. Maybe they might get it. No CC onto Rubcub for now, though. Defensive polymorph from Samayam on Majidin stalled out the game, and Merkmines is holding on to his cooldowns for now, but they get the sheep. It breaks to the Frozen Orb. A bit of a misplay from Majidin, and now Please Sponsors are trying to rotate this around onto Asper with that full Horrify. They connect the Fist of Justice. They get the sheep. This could be the game. Feloria is forced to bubble. Barkskin, Avenging Wrath, a huge overlap from Wee back in terms of defensive cooldowns. If Please Sponsors can stabilize, they're looking to take this.
Yeah, Feloria does still have his wings active.
Holy moly!
Trinket available, but Merkmine's dipping super low. The Celestial Alignment did come out, and he's going to have his Dispersion available for that, but it's not enough. Asper comes around and reconnects onto Merkmines, and we back. They're definitely back.
They are indeed. Wow, that was pretty crazy. I mean, like, after getting that bubble from Feloria, I thought Please Sponsor Us, they were gaining a lot of momentum there. But that Celestial Alignment, I'm assuming that was Celestial Alignment. I'm taking a quick look at that replay. The setup going out on to Weeback is going to force that bubble and the Barkskin overlap that you're saying, Supa. But this next setup that Weeback is going to do, Majidin actually offensively blocked to get this going. The Deep Freeze gets into the full clone. I love the clone on that because he did get the Hand of Sacrifice off. The Disperse being forced, and Merkmine's just trying to line of sight, but the CC didn't end, and that Star Surge proc just doming him is going to be game number 1 here against Please Sponsor Us. Now, this is a best of 5 here in the semifinals. The team that loses this will be eliminated, and we back after that game number 1 has got to be feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good about that game, but it's definitely back and forth between this God Comp and this Mage Moonkin, and they do have that map choice now.
He had like a matter of 1 second to recognize that alignment was up, because if he didn't do it before that first Star Surge hit, he was like, he was going to go down to 10%. So right. He had like, Merkmine had 1 second. And I mean, you could say that they should have known it was up. It had been up for a while. And Asper was waiting to use it. And then as soon as that happens, if Merkmine's is a target, he's almost always going to have to trade Dispersion for it. If he's able to get that at like a higher HP and been like staying at like maybe 50 or 60% health, he would have been in a much better position. And then they could have punished them for that overlap, because Asper's team was actually one setup away from losing.
Yeah.
And whereas Rubcub's team had cooldowns to deal with that, unfortunately Asper got lucky. I mean, it's luck and skill. They set up the kill with CC, but to crit for 154k is a little bit of luck.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. But it looks like we're going to be going to Dalaran Sewers for the next map choice. Both teams are sticking with the same compositions. And thank you so much, Cheese Pasta, for that subscription, man. And once again, congratulations on your shirt, buddy. But here we go. The queue has popped and the teams are ready. I'll see you guys in a hot minute. It's Dalaran Sewers. Alright, it's Dalaran Sewers, game number 2. Both teams sticking with the same comp. And, we back. Like you were saying, that with that overlap of defensive cooldowns and the setups of Please Sponsor Us, it was definitely a back and forth game for sure, until that last setup at the very end that we back just blew up Merkmines and had the CC available on Rubcub to follow it up after the Disperse. So, here we go. Game number 2 has started. It's Please Sponsor Us versus We Back.
You can tell Asper has confidence now, just staying in the center of the map. He was the primary target for a lot of the last game and put on the back foot, but now with that burst that he got, he's feeling some confidence here, staying in the center of the map, building up some damage here. His Eclipse is going to be generating, getting full dots out onto the entire team is his priority right now. We can see Majidin getting Frostjawed, triple CC out from Please Sponsor Us. They pull the trigger first. Asper could easily go down in the opening stages here. He's forced to Trinket. He shadow melts, but he holds onto his Barkskin. Very important for him to hold on to that. Majidin getting swapped over to, and Please Sponsor Us have all the momentum right now. We see the Celestial Alignment, though. Will Merkmines go down similarly to game number 1? A lot of bursts following up. Rubcub sees it coming and completely stalls it out with his Avenging Wrath. Now rotating the pressure back onto Asper. Feloria caught into a silence. Asper still alone here, playing kind of greedy, holding onto his skin. Not going to have to trade it out. Communicating perfectly with Feloria to time that execution sentence right after the CC and top him off.
Yeah, Asber really did not get the use he wanted out of his Celestial alignment there. He actually got caught into a double fear, both him and Feloria, which pretty much shut that down. So good job by Merkmines recognizing that he had the opportunity to do that. Now the full Polymorph onto Feloria is going to force the bubble out as Asber is dipping pretty low. The Barkskin comes out from Asber as well. So that's a lot of defensive cooldowns now used on the side of Weeback. Rubcubs does get put into a Polymorph, which is going to make Merkmines want to pull back just a little bit here. Now the Root Beam onto Rubcubs as well. Merkmines back behind, out of line of sight, topping a couple of flash heals onto himself. Does get a quick fear onto Majidin, but Rubcub's having to bubble just to keep Merkmines alive. This is actually looking fairly scary as this push without cooldowns coming out from Weeback. And if that's the sort of thing they can keep going, then they can possibly pull out that dispersion and try to get that Celestial alignment up. It'll be up in a couple of minutes. They may be able to pull out some extra cooldowns ahead of time. Now with Feloria and Asber both CC'd up at the moment, it looks like they're putting some pressure into Majidin, or possibly looking to make the swap onto Asber sometime soon here. Asber's going to throw out that bash and blink away, but Merkmines immediately gets that Blessing of Protection from Rubcubs to pull him out of it and keep up this offensive pressure. And now Majidin having to line of sight just to try and restrict this as much as he can, because he knows that this is a lot of pressure. They're actually all just pulling back over here now, just sort of settling back a little bit. Majidin actually kind of looked like he was RP walking there for a second. Not sure entirely what that was about. But now Asber taking a little bit of that target fire once again, and both teams just kind of getting ready for the next setup.
Yeah, well, Majidin traded both of his blocks offensively as he saw Azure was getting targeted down, so he actually has no blocks right now, and he's very scared. Double fear out from Merkmines. They're looking to end the game onto Majidin. He's going to trinket. He blinks back to Feloria's side, but they connect to full sheep. Feloria trinkets into a deep freeze. Majidin on the run, trying to escape death here. Asber stops the polymorph. Really well done from Asber, but Majidin is still taking the heat. His Save of the Light will proc. He's down at 33%. Feloria is going to be able to counter pressure now with his Avenging Wrath, stabilizing Majidin, and now bringing the offensive onto Merkmines, forcing the dispersion almost out right away, and this one-sided coin is completely flipped on its side. Rubcub still caught into crowd control at the moment. Merkmine's completely alone here. Do they have enough damage to finish him off? A defensive fear on the Major and a silence on the Asber. They actually sheep up Feloria. Maybe they can take Asber down. I don't think that Barskin will be enough if they can keep Feloria in CC. Asber dipping dangerously low here. He goes for the Shadow Meld to avoid some cast, trying to get on line of sight, but it's just not enough. Deep freeze onto Feloria, down at 30%. Asber trying to hold on to life right now into the Frost Shell, but he gets the execution sentence off just in the nick of time. Asber pulling off a miracle right now. His Save by the Light is going to proc. Feloria trying to get back to Asber's side, but he survives another miracle attack.
And Celestial Alignment is now available. Merkmines had to use his dispersion there, so this is a very, very scary moment now for Please Sponsor Us. They have to stay as aggressive onto Asber as possible. They cannot allow him to feel like he can start to cast anything. Feloria now in that silence, and Asber is just gonna go down. The sudden burst damage coming out from Sam-I-Am with those Ice Novas was enough to finish Asber off, and that was a very important kill there, because if they hadn't killed him at that moment, they were in a lot of trouble.
That's how you fry a chicken.
With ice, apparently.
Hey, put it in the freezer. He's priming it for tomorrow.
It's brining it or something. You know, I feel like a lot of the reason why Weeback fell so far behind and Floria didn't have the tools to keep Asper up like he did in game number 1 is because of Majidin's offensive blocks. So when they were going on a Majidin, because he had no ice blocks, the communication over to Floria knew he had to react, and you know how he had to trade his defensive cooldowns accordingly. He had to trinket certain things, you know, and because he didn't have that tools moving forward and the swaps back over on the Asper, you know, they weren't able to rotate like as effectively as they did before. So you know, Majidin though in game number 1 had a crazy good offensive block that really got them that kill, but it came back to bite him. I feel Weeback is now going to go down to Please Sponsor Us in game number 2 here on Dalaran Sewers. We're going to be jumping into game number 3 here, and it looks to me like both these teams are going to be sticking with the same comp throughout the series.
But I like that from Majidin. So he knows that Asber is very vulnerable. He can even go down through Barkskin if Feloria isn't able to remove crowd control. So Majidin knew that Asber was vulnerable, tried to help him out by using his defensive cooldowns aggressively to try and bait a swap onto himself. So he gets more pressure because he's using his block to remove CC, and he kind of tries to bait them. And they were sort of falling for that bait on Majidin for a while there. And then eventually they're like, you know what, this isn't working. We need to just go back onto Asber, play the way that we were playing, and just lock him down and eventually blow him up.
And it worked great. I mean, Asper, like, as soon as they swapped back over on him, he was, like, running away almost the whole time. But here we go. Game number 3 is ready. It is Tolvaron Arena, a much wider, much more open map. And the game is set, and it looks like we have a Boomkin. Yeah, it looks like both these teams are probably going to be sticking with the exact same compositions. Yep. All right, but it's a tied game here in this best of 5 series. It could go either way at this point, and it doesn't look like the map choices are really all that detrimental, it would seem. I don't know, but this is a much different map, much more wide open map than the last 2 games that we've played, so this might be beneficial to one or the other. You know, when I look at a map like this, the first thing I think of is how far Merkmines has to run to get a fear onto Floria if he's positioned far back.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
map's for Asver, I think, more than anything.
Oh, the
He's gonna be
slippery
running
kitty.
laps, man.
Yeah, he's going to be able to displace your beast away and get behind a pillar, and then Merkmines has to run all the way over to try to get to him to stay offensive onto him. So I definitely feel like this map leans a little bit in favor of We Back. But we'll have to see how these teams react to it as the gates are now open and we are getting underway.
Oh, as we're charging in, Mageton building up icicles. Rubcub, actually the first forward player here. Looks like Please Sponsors want to get aggressive here. Deep freeze onto Rubcub, though, and punishing him for this overextension. A lot of pressure on Merkmines. Rubcub Ore Masteries. He clones his Ore Mastery. Merkmines still under fire. Caught into that bash. He's forced to disperse the Celestial alignment, but they need to prevent Asper from getting this damage out. He trinkets out of the Fist of Justice into a Horrify. Now still getting bursted down, but with no CC on Floria, Floria should be able to pick him up. No, Merkmines lands the full fear. Asper playing kind of greedy right now, holding onto that bark skin, just trying to get out of line of sight and hold on to some cooldowns. Now Rubcub is actually caught into a polymorph. Merkmines gets locked on his Dispel to remove that. Still a bit of pressure on Merkmines as he did have to disperse the opener. We see a silence on Asper trying to deny any cyclones, but that silence is going to fade. He lands the clone. Merkmines gets the Mass Dispel, though, and removes it. Now they follow it with another polymorph. Asper just preemptively actually running away, and now coming back. Merkmines is locked down. Can Rubcub save him in time? He pops the Avenging Wrath. He trinkets. He stabilizes Merkmines. Now they have to make something happen because this is looking horrible for Please Sponsor Us. Mageton, they make the swap. They get the block. They're forcing the cooldowns that they need to get now. Valoria caught into a polymorph. They're swapping back onto Asper. He's forced to Barkskin at 86% to deal with that Shadow Fiend out from Merkmines. Now forcing Barkskin, forcing blocks. We can see Please Sponsor Us. They're finding their center. Asper in the center of the map could get clotheslined here. Down at 20%. Valoria trying to panic heal him back to full here. He does not have Avenging Wrath to pick him up very fast. Now Asper displacing in, landing a bash onto Merkmines. Asper looking to finish him off maybe by himself. Mageton reconnects now as well. A lot of damage onto Merkmines. Rubcub gets back to his side, though, and tops him back off. As both teams begin to stabilize here, we have to look at the cooldown. Suddenly, Please Sponsor Us have a lead.
Yeah, the 2 blocks on Sam IM, they're going to have the the dispersion back up again in 30 seconds on Merkmines. And although Floria has his trinket and Rubcub's doesn't, I definitely agree. Whoa, and that's a second ice block out from Mageton as a big burst of damage lands onto him. Can Floria top him off? He actually got out of that. He canceled that ice block a little bit early to try and stay aggressive. Didn't really get anywhere with it, but he will get some heals from Floria, which will allow him to move back in as soon as they feel it's necessary. But right now, looks like they're just waiting for that next setup. They do have a minute remaining on Celestial Alignment, and they may want to try and back off until that point. Now that Mageton has no ice blocks available, Please Sponsor Us has an opportunity to just go in and destroy him if they can get a nice CC chain going onto Floria. Floria with his bubble and his trinket available. It's going to take a little bit of work to actually get that going, but there's the root beam onto Rubcubs, followed up by the bash. Are they going to try to make something happen onto Merkmines here? Looks like they're trying to, but just not really able to connect in the way that they probably want. They're just sort of playing almost, like I say, a little bit more defensively right now as Mageton's taking quite a bit of damage and having to be very, very careful not to overextend versus Please Sponsor Us at the moment. But now here he goes, moving in over to the other side, dropping down the skating rink, trying to get something onto Merkmines there and trying to keep that pressure going. He does have his healer now in line of sight. He gets caught into the polymorph, but that gets a spell. But a nice double fear by Merkmines forces the bubble out from Floria. That's what they need to keep doing if they want to be able to pull this around. Asper dipping down to 50% health, did have to use his bark skin there. Now it's just basically the trinket available for Floria. If they can get that out, Asper's in a lot of trouble, but Celestial Alignment is available, and WeBack is going to start looking for that opportunity to use it here very, very soon.
Yeah, Asper's looking for a clone. He gets it. I wouldn't be surprised to just see him pull the trigger. I guess he's not going to. They're just using a little bit of burst. He can't get in line of sight for now. Just continuing the Cyclone chain on Rubcub. What are they going to do? Now into the Solar Beam, forcing the Aura Mastery out as Merkmines gets Fist of Justice, but Rubcub can dispel that. Now they're forced to clone out Merkmines. Who are they going to go on to? Maybe Sam IM? He's got 2 blocks. I feel like that's a bit of a risky swap, but Asper now getting punished as he's caught in the center field, trying to get back to the pillar. The pillar is his friend. He needs to hide back here and heal himself back up. Sam I Am still getting polyed by Majin. Majin trying to keep his team alive here, but that means they're just going to swap right over to him as Majin's caught in center field. He has no block for 2 more seconds. Is he going to go down? Cold Snap coming up in 1. Cold Snap now available. Majin will be able to stabilize with that ice block. Now trying to turn the aggression over onto Merkmines. His Celestial Alignment pops. Merkmine says, no way, Jose, I am not dying to that again that way. Dispersing at full HP and running back to the pillar. That means that Asper can switch the pressure onto Sam I Am. Let's see how Sam I Am decides to deal with. He's actually going for a sheep. Asper's completely isolated. Barkskin is not going to be enough to stay alive here. 3v1 onto Asper, and he's going to fall. Down at 9, he blinks to the pillar, barely staying alive. 12% HP remaining. 8%, 9%, but Floria is still getting crowd control. There's no way Asper makes it out alive. Just not able to get back to Floria in time. And please sponsor us. Take a lead 2-1.
Wow. It didn't seem like the map really gave them that much of a, it definitely helped Asper get away, but going into that game, it just felt like Please Sponsor Us did a lot better job of just taking control of the game and, setting up, and it just seemed like Asper, whenever he got the setups, whenever they got the CC, they just didn't have the damage to follow it up, and I feel like a lot of that had to do with Please Sponsor Us' positioning. They kept making Weeback push in on their pillar.
It was interesting. Azure wanted to get something done with that Celestial Alignment. Just in case the game goes longer, he'll get another one available later. So he wanted to just do it, and maybe they just pushed in at the wrong time. Floria had no trinket and no bubble when they decided to do this. And if Floria can't remove CC, Asper can easily die through Barkskin in a Sunlock. And that's what ended up happening. You can see him doing everything he can. He used every global cooldown with Bear Farm Frenzied Regen to try and heal himself back up. Wasn't enough, though. Merkmines had that Shadow Fiend down, and they just connect Ice Nova to finish him off. Floria was almost in line of sight, though. He had that Avenging Wrath up. He is just probably mashing executions. It's like, please, line of sight, please, please, range, please, please. And then nope, just 2 inches away from victory, or surviving, I should say. But that was a weird match, because at the beginning of the match, Weeback looks to be dominating, and then about a minute and a half in, Please Sponsor Us just took this tremendous lead. They were up 2 blocks, up a trinket, up a bubble, up a skin, just always up cooldowns, and Please Sponsors started walking all over them because of it.
Yeah, there were lots of situations early on where Asper was able to blink away and heal himself back up that would have been a lot scarier for them earlier. But then the distance of the map was kind of what came to bite them in the end, because the way that he was able to blink away and start to heal himself back up, unfortunately put his healer so far on the other side of the map at that point that just a little bit of continued CC was enough to keep him stuck there and couldn't get over and top him back off. So good job by Please Sponsor Us recognizing a way to turn the slight map advantage against them.
Yeah, I think the name of the game for that map specifically was all about positioning. And you say this time and time again, Supa, where you're like, when it's Wizard versus Wizard and you see one Wizard pushing in, they're giving up an advantage. And, Please Sponsor Us in the beginning of the game fell behind. And that was because Rubcub, like you said, ran right at them. He was in their face. They were pushing up at them. And it looked like Weeback had the momentum. But then from there on out, Weeback was pushing in on their pillar. And, that extension, that positioning really made Asper in the middle of the map, or Asper in the middle of the map over and over and over again, vulnerable to those setups, and also, like you said, Lore, made it hard for Floria to get back and heal him when he was running away like a slippery cat. But Tiger's Peak, not nearly as big as Tolvaron Arena, so there's not going to be as far of a place for Asper to run away and hide to, but it's still a fairly large map. It's very similar to Nagrand Arena in size. So looking at these 2 teams, whew.
If you remember, Nagrand was the one that Weeback won on originally,
right.
So going to a map like Tiger's Peak, which is so similar to Nagrand. Obviously, there's very important differences, but if you were to look at all of the maps and say, pick the one that's the most like Nagrand Arena, you would probably pick Tiger's Peak. I think this makes a whole lot of sense for them.
Yeah. I agree.
They wanted just an even playing field. They don't want the map to disadvantage them, so this is pretty even for both sides. Let's see if Asper can pull it back. They're 1 game away from being eliminated. Charging into center field, still has that confidence. You can't lose the confidence in this matchup. You still need to be getting damage out, still in a good position for attacks. You can't just go into this really defensive mindset. So Asper's moving in. They're actually going on to Rubcub. Interesting swap here. Is he ready for it? Down at 17%, he barely trinkets in time to get that heal off and stabilize, but they're just cutting right through his healing. Down at 48%, 28% HP, trying to stabilize, and finally the aggressiveness is over, and the Rubcub will survive the storm, but now Asper clones him up, and Rubcub has no trinket. Can they switch the pressure over in time? But this is a risky opener from Weeback going on to Rubcub, only getting his trinket. Major and Saved by the Light has procced in the meantime. Please sponsor us are trying to punish this aggression, but now Rubcub's caught into the sheep. Weeback are switching the strategy around and going after Merkmines. He's already down to half HP. He could easily fall here. He's forced to disperse at 20%. Rubcub still getting crowd control. The clone on the dispersion. Great clone from Asper. Now Rubcub still getting CC'd. They might be able to isolate and just finish him here. One more point of damage. 16% HP. Rubcub bubbles. It's not enough. Merkmines goes down. And this huge aggressive play on Rubcub pays its weight in gold. They get away with it, and they take game number 4.
That's actually so crazy. They got in their face. They got the cross CC they needed. You know, at first when I saw this go down, checking a quick look at that replay when they were going on Rubcub and they didn't get that bubble, I was just thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, they're in trouble. But they never stopped the aggression. They utilized every second of DR on the CC onto Rubcub to really force everything out from them. And Rubcub, he didn't have his wings because he was forced to use his wings to trade up in the aggressive opener. So when he finally left the CC, he just didn't have the healing per second to keep his Shadow Priest up alive, even though he was in that bubble. And there you have it. Weeback is now going to tie up the series here 2-2 in this best of 5 series, and we are going to the match point between these two. And wow, what a crazy series so far here in the semifinals of the Pro League. And the winner of this series will go on to the grand finals. Whew.
He actually canceled a cast right at the end there. It looked like he was trying to Rubcubs, that is. Yeah, he was trying to juke. And he was in a bubble, so I don't think it was. I'm not actually sure why he would do that at that point, but he was starting to cast a heal, which may have actually saved Merkmines, and he actually just moved a little bit, maybe just like worried about the rest of the team moving in, didn't want, like, just sort of in the back of his head was like, oh god, they're moving in, I need to move so I don't get CC'd, and just forgotten that he was immune to all of that at the moment. I'm not sure, but it's also possible that I've made this whole thing up, and I was just trying to watch it on the replay to see if it was the case, and it's what it looked like happened.
Yeah, he stopped his cast and went for a Holy Shock. Maybe looking for like a, like a quick proc, so his Flash of Light healed even more. I don't know.
Or maybe it was just I'm in the middle of this cast and the cast isn't going to land in time, so he went ahead and canceled it to do the Holy Shock instead, which just wasn't enough healing. So.
And these are like the strange plays that you don't normally see. Like, you'll often see this Mage Paladin going at each other, CC, 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 and Asper's team decided to throw a curveball and say, like, we're going to go on your Paladin. Are you ready? Like, do you know that we can do this? And I'm wondering if Rubcub's response was appropriate. Maybe he should just bubble and save the wings. It
man.
Like, or maybe Merkmines could trinket and mass dispel them, as most of the stuns that they're going to be using, or the roots on the silence, are magical. Merkmines could remove them as well, so maybe Merkmines' trinket is a little bit less valuable, and he should be the one to trinket if they're going to do that.
So what do you think about this, Sid? We are on Ruins of Lordaeron for match point between these two. There's a tomb, and then there's some gravestones, but there's not really a whole lot of line of sight between these two. I mean, I feel like we've seen this matchup throughout the entire Pro League quite a few times on this map specifically, and I don't know who it actually advantages. But one thing about this map that I'd like to point out is that, like, the adaptation on play, like that setup onto Rubcub and then putting him into the CC chain after he uses all his defensive cooldowns and his trinket out, like, those weird plays I feel definitely reward teams a lot on a map like Ruins of Lordaeron because it's so in your face.
Yeah, it could go either way, honestly. I think Rubcub needs to be ready for the chance that Weeback goes on him again, and they need to know how they want to deal with it. Was the Trinket Avenging Wrath the right decision? It seemed like Rubcub just got CC'd on it, wasn't able to really heal with it effectively. We can see that Rubcub's team are going to be taking to the side here. Rubcub caught into a deep freeze into the Solar Beam. They're making the initial attack onto Rubcub once again. He's going to trade out the bubble this time, hold on to his other cooldowns, and now rotate the pressure onto Asver, forcing him to Trinket out of that stun and blink back to the pillar. Now Merkmines, though, getting swapped to a lot of burst following it up. Rubcub's going to answer that with Avenging Wrath. Will that even be enough? Asver's just dispensing a load of damage right now on Merkmines. Rubcub caught into that full sheep, but he did pre-sacrifice it. Nice response from Asver to clone Rubcub. He knew that sheep might break because of the pre-sacrifice, and now following up with more Cyclones. Merkmine's still under fire, but he escapes this initial exchange without dispersing. Very important for his team so they can play aggressive.
Yeah, that's huge, and the no trinket out of Rub Cubs as well from that is going to help them quite a bit. There's a dispel landing on the Merkmines to allow him to continue moving around as he was caught into a fist of justice there very, very shortly. And now, how is Please Sponsor Us going to respond to this? Looks like they got the full sheep onto Feloria. He's going to go ahead and have Asper use the bark skin instead of trinketing out of that. Asper, though, still taking quite a bit of damage. Now the deep freeze onto Feloria. Asper's going to go ahead and cat form, get out of there as quickly as he can using the dash to get over here behind this the tomb in the center. Majorden, though, taking quite a chunk of damage there. Drops down to 27% health, has to Ice Block. He's going to cancel that early and try to turn around and get aggressive onto Merkmines. The triple Solar Beam there for just a second. Rubcub's going to get caught into that Polymorph as well. He's still just barely on the edge of the Solar Beam, but it does not look like it's actually mattering at this point. He's able to get a bunch of healing out and keep his team alive through that little push there from Wee Back. Now Feloria's wings are about to wear off. This could be an opportunity for Please Sponsor Us to move back in and go for another aggressive push in the very near future.
Yeah, Weeback look like they're hanging back for now. Floria just used his Avenging Wrath, so it'd be pretty risky to move in right now. Looks like they're going to try and do it anyway. Deep Freeze on Rokup. They don't get the sheep. Looks like he got shut down by Sam I Am and Merkmine, so well done from Please Sponsor Us. Now they're trying to turn aggression on Asper. Asper's already on the run. He knows that he could be in trouble with no Avenging Wrath on Floria. Sam I Am's going in. He blinks in for the deep. He gets cloned on his blink and can't connect the sheep. Really nice clone from Asper, and now Floria can free him up with a Dispel. Looking like they're rotating pressure onto Merkmines here, but with no CC on Rubcub, I think he's going to be able to do it. This pretty easy. Pops Merkmines out of the bash, trying to get him out of CC and rotate the pressure onto Asper. Asper not really responding here. He's got Barskin. He's going to hold on to it. Floria is going to bubble instead, and that's great communication to not overlap Bubble and Barskin in that situation. And now they're trying to switch pressure onto Merkmines as a result of that. It's a good trade. They get to stay ahead a little bit on cooldowns, but they really need to start getting the dispersion at least out of Merkmines or a block, because right now, Please Sponsor Us are up so many cooldowns.
Yeah, Asper's got 20 seconds left on his Celestial Alignment, but it almost doesn't matter with the number of cooldowns available for Please Sponsor Us. They've got Dispersion, they've got 2 blocks. Rubcubs even has his Bubble available once again because he is running that talent that allows it, the Unbreakable Spirit talent that reduces the cooldown on it. So even though Asper is just about to have his burst available, it may not even actually matter. Feloria caught into a Deep Freeze there. He's forced to trinket out of that. Asper's still dipping so low, trying to get a Cyclone off, not able to land it. Used the Bark Skin already. Feloria using the wings as well. Feloria now caught into a Fear, no way to break out of it. Asper's Barkskin is about to wear off. Do they have any additional CC for Feloria? Does not look like it just yet. He's going to pop his wings once again. They are still active, excuse me, and he's going to be able to get some healing into Asper. But that was a lot of defensive cooldowns used for Wee Back there, and still nothing major used on the side of Please Sponsor Us. They are in a commanding lead.
That was Celestial Alignment, and Asper had to clone his kill target because they didn't have CC. They were trying to set it up, and now his Celestial Alignment goes without payout. Merkmine sees that. He's moving in. They're looking to end this game here and now, and they should be able to if they can CC Feloria. They don't get the sheep, but Merkmines gets the Fear. MVP Merk looking to take this game and take the series. Asper blinks away to try and defy him, trying to get a healing touch off behind the pillar, but they connect the sheep onto Feloria. Asper still on the run. Merkmine's right on top of his face, looking to finish him off here. Will he be able to do it? He silences Asper on the clone. 24% HP remaining. Merkmines is trying to finish him off by himself. Can Sam I Am get over here in time? Merkmines is just going to solo him. He gets sheeped up, but it's not enough. Sam I Am finishes him off with that last Ice Nova. And Please Sponsor Us advance 3-2 to the grand finals, and We Back are eliminated.
Wow, that was an intense series. Congratulations to Please Sponsor Us for taking out We Back and earning their place in the grand finals. You know, Asper, he was doing his very best to try to survive there at the very end, but it would seem like you said, Laura, there is nothing left in the tank for We Back in terms of defensive cooldowns. I mean, Barkskin was coming off a cooldown there at the very end, but you know, without any outs for the Holy Paladin, the setup was just still available for the CC Feloria. Just there's no way Asper could have survived there. But there you have it. The series will go to Please Sponsor Us, and they will go to the grand finals. Now we have to figure out which team is going to face them in that grand finals. Taking a quick look at that bracket, Please Sponsor Us is going to take a very exciting 3-2 series against We Back, and then we have Tempo Storm versus Method. Now this is a hyped matchup. Tempo Storm, of course, they have a whole bunch of those compositions available